Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Jalin Fuller, who will fight on APFC 21 November 23rd. Hello, Jalin. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. And in about 2 weeks, you will fight in APFC, a title fight. Of course, APFC is a really big regional promotion, so definitely this will be definitely a big fight. So if you can tell me, how happy are you that you get this chance and you can be a welterweight champion?
I'm ecstatic to get this chance. You don't get multiple shots like this. I slipped up with the LFA welterweight title. I slipped up on that opportunity. So I'm so excited to get this chance again with APFC.
And of course, the title in big regional promotion can definitely open another doors for you because it's like a big accomplishment. So maybe after the win, you will be like the one of the welterweights that UFC would have on their list.
That I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. I think I will have put together a good enough string of wins against enough high level competition to show that I'm ready to take on these guys at the next level. So if it's UFC's willing to make that call up, if PFL makes that call, I'd be more than happy to perform for either.
And if you can tell me, did you have any chance to watch any of your opponent's fights or like highlights to know about a little bit about his style?
Yeah, I do a ton of tape study, and I've been watching him not pretty nonstop for the last 5 weeks.
And because you fought against really good competition, how would you like rate or compare him to your previous opponents?
He's definitely gritty and dangerous, but I would say he's more middle of the pack of the guys who I've already fought before. Um, he's got his areas where he's dangerous, just like anybody who's fighting at this level. They all have their little spots where you just don't want to end up with them. But if I were to do a direct comparison between him and my last opponent, Mac, I think universally it would say that Mac is the more skilled fighter between the two. I would definitely say that.
And about your last fight, it's probably one of the like best scenario for the fight because of course he's another really good fighter. You finished him in the first round, and the like submission was kind of crazy. And I think that it actually showed your kind of like creative side that you are not just a fighter who want to finish, but you are doing it in a really like creative way.
Yeah, I like those opportunities where I get to really reach deeper down into my toolkit. Max had really tight top pressure. So as soon as I felt that, I was like, as soon as I get my hips shifted off to the side, I'm gonna go omoplata. And since he's a big, strong guy, they're usually gonna posture up in that position, which lines you up for the next chain into the rear naked omoplata series, where you just swap between the two until you finish them with either the omoplata or rear naked choke. So I was really happy to get to show off a bit more of my grappling skills. But I'm hoping to keep this one almost strictly on the feet.
But also about your like grappling style because you also have a really good guillotine choke, and I think that for your opponents it can be like a little bit problem because the first idea is to take opponent on the ground, but when you know that the opponent is really creative and he can be dangerous like in a split of the second with some submission, I think that definitely they need to rethink their game plan.
100%. But the plan for me is, and this is usually how I do it most of the time when I land these tight ninja chokes, the guillotines, taking their back. I butcher their body. I beat them up top. I just wear on them. And they've taken enough damage to where they want to shoot regardless, even if they know they're going to be shooting into those dangerous places. I want to be beating them down enough to where they don't really care. They just want the striking to stop.
And actually, like many years ago, Donald Cerrone was this kind of fighter that he actually got more submissions than knockouts. And of course, like watching his fights, he was like mainly a striker, but because of it, because he was such a punishing, he had such a punishing style. He got like many submissions because people didn't want to stand with him.
Yeah. That I would say that's very similar to how my style is right now. I'm actually leaning toward I have more submissions now than I do knockouts in MMA for that very same reason. They're just like, all right, I need a break from the stand-up assault. So they shoot and it's no picnic down there either when you try to shoot on me. I'll probably have you submitted before we've even touched the ground.
And also, earlier this year, you made your Muay Thai debut. You defeated, I think, that much more experienced fighter. And in that fight, how overall did you like this kind of experience in fighting in a different sport than MMA?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. It felt good to not have to worry about takedowns, any like prolonged grappling exchanges, and not have to worry about scrambling when you hit the ground. Just to know we're going in there for a straight up stand up fight that was really invigorating. It was very invigorating. It was releasing. I didn't feel chained or held back at all. And my opponent Zach, he was incredibly experienced. He was ranked number 1 with the WBC for Muay Thai. So literally just jumped right on into one of the baddest dudes in Muay Thai and essentially ran through him, had my way with him.
And for you, was it more of the like bucket list thing, just to try the one fight, or do you think that maybe there will be more chances to fight in Muay Thai?
If I don't get picked up by a promotion that has more exclusivity, then I'm always open to more Muay Thai opportunities for sure. We took that fight because I was coming off of my MMA layoff. I was out for about 2 years, recovering from LCL injury, my left hand and my shin. I had a not a complete fracture, but a pretty severe hairline fracture going all the way up my shin. And I had that since my LFA fight for the title. I've been struggling with that one. And then I had my LCL tear on me in the training camp for the next fight. So I was like, let's just take some time and recover. But that Muay Thai fight was just to make sure we're firing on all cylinders. All the changes that we've made to my stand up style, everything works. And, to do it against a guy who's just striking, all he does is strike, that was what we needed to see for us to know it's efficient.
And about your break from the sport, because I'm always interested in like tough moments in the career, because you lost before and then you had this kind of injuries. So at that moment, do you think that maybe there will be some problem to get back to MMA, or did you think that it just part of fighter's journey, that sometimes there are losses or the injuries, and in the end of the day, in a moment you will be back in the cage?
I just saw it as part of the journey. I was just like, people get hurt. I'd spent my whole career not getting injured and had never been knocked out even to that point. So I was just like, it's just my turn. So I'm just going to take the time, do it smart, take the full amount of time to recover. I'm not too old yet that I don't have the ability to take the time and let my body really heal. So I said, let's just do it.
And definitely a comeback year even is great, because big Muay Thai win, big win on APFC, and who knows, maybe in a moment you will be APFC champion. So definitely it was a really good thing that you went to MMA.
I would agree. I'm happy that we took this break. I got revitalized. I got my skills revamped up. And it was just almost 2 years of pure training, just upgrading my skill set. And I think it showed when I fought in those two fights in Muay Thai and in MMA. And now, November 23rd, we're looking to snatch up this title. And once I get this belt, I don't think there should be any doubt that I belong at the next level.
Yes, yes, I would definitely agree because of your both experience and style. Because I think that overall the style is definitely one of the biggest advantage of your career, because you are not like a guy who is like holding a fighter in the in the grappling or in the clinch, but you are definitely looking for the finish. So I think that UFC really appreciate this kind of things. And about your MMA career, what inspire you to at the beginning to overall start your journey in MMA?
So I live in Albuquerque, and I just wanted to make sure I knew how to defend myself because I would talk a little bit slick sometimes, and I'm a musical theater choir kid kind of guy. I never did any other sports or athletics before I started my MMA journey. So I just wanted to make sure I wouldn't get my ass whooped, essentially. So I just joined Latrell MMA, started training there for a few months. I think for about 2 months, and then Chris Luttrell asked me if I wanted to take a fight, and I simply said, yeah, for sure. And that's how it all started.
So the first was like MMA, like overall MMA gym, right? No, no, like
Yep,
boxing or Muay Thai.
nothing at all, just straight into MMA training.
And I think that especially in the US, the main path to go to MMA is like wrestling, and it's like nice to hear that there are fighters who start with like overall MMA game.
I agree because it you don't have to worry about making sure your wrestling is able to transition well into MMA because it is two completely different styles of wrestling. And if it wasn't two different styles of wrestling, then every division would just be dominated by a wrestler and nobody would stand a chance if they could actually wrestle in MMA that they do on the mats. But you can't. That's simply the way that it is. That's not how it works. The range is different. When the strikes get involved, when other dudes' timing is just that good, when the grappling and jujitsu get involved in the mix, it all changes it. So I just wanted to make sure that from the ground up, every aspect of my game was tailor made for MMA.
And right now, you are in Nobody's Villain, right?
Correct, under John Dodson. Yes, sir.
And I think that John is of course he like in the end he wasn't a UFC champion, but I think that he's a kind of legend of lower weight classes because his fights like against DJ because of his power. So probably to having him as the like your coach or even mentor is like super beneficial for you.
Definitely. He's able to guide all of us past all the pit traps that most dudes fall into throughout their MMA career. Like it was a mix of him and my manager. We have the same manager, Ricky Contesetti. They were the ones who were like, "Nah, you just take this break and you just recover." Because worst case scenario, you jump back in too soon, like you did for your last fight. You jumped back in way too soon. We don't want that to happen again. Take the time, recover. They he looks out for us in a way that very few fighters have their coaches look out for them. I've never seen a dude who knows your life schedule and your appointments and meetings for the day better than you do when it comes to working with John. He's like, no, we don't got time for that. You got to go do this, or your kid has this today. You need to go drive and head over there now. We'll get in work later. Like, he's the type of guy who remembers every aspect of your life, and then he focuses your training around every aspect of your life. It's really something rare. It's really rare.
And in your gym, do you have fighters like you who are really good prospects or really good fighters on the regional scene, and you know that in like near future they can be like UFC or like PFL one, this kind of highest level, the fighters who are fighting on the highest level?
100% we do. Mark the Hoss Hussey, he's going to be fighting with me on the APFC card. He's already incredibly skilled, very dangerous, and he's getting everything that he needs to get locked in outside of the cage. He's getting that locked in now. This is going to be his best performance that he's had his entire career. Um, Brendan Johnson, He's another one of our up and coming fighters at 185. He fought on the last APFC card in Albuquerque. He's an amateur now. He's already good enough to fight pro fighters. He's already there. It's not even up for debate. We're just really making sure we guide his amateur career correctly because he's only 19. He's got tons of time, so we don't want to rush him. And then we also have Elijah Lucero, who's going to be fighting with me as well on the APFC card. That's another dude who, if you took him right after this AMI fight, if you tossed him in, he could fight somebody on the contender series right now. And that's what I mean when I'm saying John is just breaking every dude down, getting their skill set to such a high level. They're so far ahead of the competition they're facing now. But it's important for them to get the reps, which is what we're focusing on for them right now.
So probably it's great that you have a few fighters on the same card because when you have the same goal, it's probably a little bit like different vibe in the gym.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like everyone getting ready, going through training camp together, everyone's fighting on the same card. And then if you're able to sweep that card or at least come out positive on that card where most of you guys win and only like one or two lose or everyone wins, there's nothing like that feeling for the gym. The momentum that you guys pick up and build, you'll carry that right into the next training camp and the next one, and it just doesn't stop.
And of course, you are in the game for like a long time. You had really big wins on the regional scene. And from your perspective, what do you think the like fans should appreciate more about like MMA or like MMA fighter? Because a lot of fans are like just fans, not maybe they are not training. So probably they can't really appreciate the like whole game of the like MMA fighter, let's say.
I would say the biggest thing that fans who are just watching and don't train themselves should appreciate is once you see these guys in APFC, if they're fighting in the co-main event, main event, or if they're in the LFA and they're in the main event or co-main event, just know you're watching two dudes who are already good enough to be in the UFC. That is the biggest thing that I would recommend. If you're watching Fury, CES, CFFC, any of these higher level regional shows, the last three fights on every one of their cards, that's a UFC ready guy. Every single one of them. And don't let their age deceive you. Don't even let their records deceive you because a lot of these dudes simply chose the route of, I want to find out if I'm really about this right now. And they did not pad their records. Like that's a real record that you're seeing from these guys, as opposed to most of these guys on the contender series. If you actually look through who they're beating, you're going to find dudes who are 1-4, 0-7, you know, 3-5, and then they fought one dude very early on who was like 2-1 or 3-1 as their big test or something like that. That's not a real record. Most of these dudes who you guys watch now on Contender Series, and even some of them who are already in the UFC but just working their way up from the prelims, those dudes haven't even been tested yet. So every one of these guys who you're watching on these regional promotions, if they're in the main event, co-main, featured bout, that's a tested UFC level guy, 100%.
And I actually am like a big fan of this like MMA model that you are not building the fighter to be like 20 or 30 and all, because when you are tested on the regional scene and even you lost some fights, when you get to the UFC, it's like you are a little bit like the proven fighter. So probably not a lot of things will surprise you. But when you are like 6 or 8-0 and you didn't fought against really good fighters, you can lose 2 or 3 fights in the UFC, and actually your career can be done in some ways because it's a little bit hard to be back on the regional scene. And this fighter sometimes lost another fights in the regional scene, and in the end, like their career is done. So I'm like a big fan of MMA model.
I agree. I think that you nailed that perfectly, right on the head. You see these guys who are 7-0, 8-0, 6-0, and then they take that first loss. They never have lost before, but now that first loss just came on the biggest stage that MMA has to offer. And now you're forced to fight again 4 months later, 5 months later. If you got knocked out, maybe they give you 6 months later. And you haven't had a chance to really mentally recover from that loss before. You've never lost before. And now you lost here. And now you know if you lose again, your job is over. And most people, once you get cut from the UFC, it's very hard to get let back in, especially if you didn't get any wins while you were there. Now it's also hard to get picked up by other leagues like PFL or One because they're like, bro, we don't want you either because you weren't proven. So now, as far as they're concerned, you're just some bum. You're just a scrub now. So that's why it's best to just take your time and get there when you're ready. Because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a short time, a good time, and to make the most of the opportunity that you get.
And do you have maybe a fighter from the UFC that you would like to fight? Because of course you actually fought against a few guys who are right now in the UFC. But from the UFC current UFC roster, do you have maybe one name in mind that you would like to fight?
Um, right now, from everybody who's in the UFC, I think the dude who I would have the funnest fight with would be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think that would be a striker's delight fight. And it would be like a Stephen Wonderboy versus Kevin Holland fight where I'll be like, no takedowns, no grappling. Let's just go, just straight stand up. I would love to do that with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I would love that.
And it's kind of crazy because he's like 42 or 43, something around it. So it's definitely on the older side for the welterweight, and I think that he still is ranked. So
Still
so
ranked, still bouncing, still moving, still fluid, still fast. That's the scariest thing.
yes, and actually it shows this is like the quality of the fighter when he can be ranked for 10 years is something unbelievable because sometimes the one fighter is ranked for just let's say 3 months, which of course is also a big accomplishment. But when we have a guy who was in the ranking for the 10 years, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to not even hang on for that long because he's been going on winning streaks here and there, and then he'll lose a couple to the grapplers in the division, and then he'll jump right back in for a striker's delight and just piece that dude up. So it's amazing to see, and honestly, it gives a little bit more faith for guys who are slightly older in their careers, still in their prime, but they know that they're realistic and they're just getting a little bit older. To see a dude like that still going strong, it makes you think, okay, maybe I got a little bit more time left than I thought I did.
And also about welterweight division because in November there will be a really big fight, JDM against Islam, and in that fight, what do you think will happen?
I think I'm actually gonna go against the popular decision here, and I'm gonna go JDM for that fight. The fight that he had with Bilal shows that he is really ready for those takedowns, and I think people don't realize Islam and Habib's wrestling style is actually very different. The way that they go for takedowns, Islam is more of a 50-50 traditional double leg entry kind of guy, as Habib would just shoot low line single legs from halfway across the dang cage just to make contact with you and then crawl up your body and then try to go for it from there. But I think if guys like Dustin Poirier can shut down his takedowns for a good little bit and force him to exchange with him on the feet, then I don't see any reason why JDM isn't going to be able to do the same, especially after the performance that he put on against Bilal. I'm definitely in JDM's corner for this fight.
Yes, and like Khabib grappling was kind of unstoppable because not many people were able to defend even one takedown attempt. With Islam, it's a little bit different. Of course, he can be like considered about to be a little bit maybe more all around fighter because he's probably better striker. He also got submissions on the ground, but definitely like you mentioned, the wrestling it's kind of different.
Yeah, it's a very different style. He's got more of those traditional sambo takedowns in his arsenal, a lot more 50-50s, almost like judo tosses and trips that Islam really likes to do. But I think the fact that he's found so much success with his striking, knocking out Volk, dropping Charles, hanging on the feet with Dustin for a little bit, it's made him be more and more confident in these stand-up exchanges. Because when he got knocked out, in the UFC, he kind of swapped things up and he was like, I'm just going to shoot and just take you down. But now he's building that confidence to engage on the feet, which is going to be a huge mistake. You don't engage on the feet with JDM unless you are another high level striker. You just don't do it.
Yes, definitely. It will be a really fun fight, and like outside of world of MMA, when you have a little bit more free time, let's say that you are after the fight, do you have any like maybe hobby, maybe passions, something like this to keep your head out of the MMA game?
Honestly, being a dad to four kids and my wife at home, that keeps me plenty busy at all times. Just staying an active father. I love to show up for parent teacher conferences. I'm the dad who drops them off for their extracurricular activities, and I'm going to volunteer to be the assistant coach for my kids playing soccer. Or I'm going to be the dad standing there when my daughter's in ballet class. I'm the dad standing there holding her bag, holding her water, just waiting for her to be done. So I'm always plenty busy and got too much to do as it is already.
So it's like four kids, like a full-time job.
Yeah, 100% it's another full-time job. Yeah.
Okay, Jalin, so many thanks for the time and for conversation. I think that it will be good fight, and I think that with the win, probably with the finish, you should be like consider with the one of the options to get to the UFC next year because you have of course good record. You fought against really good guys, good style, so probably it will be like perfect time for you to get this chance.
Thank you so much. And thank you for offering me up this interview opportunity and for giving me your time as well. I appreciate that very much.